The next stop of the Great American Bash Tour would take us to Atlanta, the original home of WCW, and we would kick off the night with an A-Town Open Challenge issued by Atlanta's own Austin Theory. And the man that would answer that challenge would be another of Atlanta's finest and probably Atlanta's favorite son, the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. The homecoming of Cody Rhodes would not last long, as he would very quickly get Theory in a crossroads and cover him and give the fans here in Atlanta a victory to kick off the night. Then we had a WCW Throwback match, a tag match between the Steiner brothers and the Outsiders of the NWO. A lot of history between these two teams. A lot of battles between them in the early days of the NWO, before Scott would eventually turn on his brother and join the NWO. But you can't really think of tag team wrestling in the WCW and not think of the Steiners. Obviously, Scott, in the dying days of WCW, was a main event guy. He was a world champion as a single superstar. But the team of Rick and Scott, from their time in the NWA and WCW, then to the WWF, and then eventually back to WCW, and even some stints that they spent over in Japan. When you think of tag team wrestling, the Steiners, one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Hall and Nash, a good team in their own right. Obviously, we know what the NWO was all about. But these guys, from their shared time in the WWF and then, of course, their run here in WCW. Kevin Nash would hit a jackknife and cover Rick to get the 1-2-3. Kind of a similar sight to what we would see during the time of the NWO and the Monday Night Wars. The NWO with a too sweet at the end of a match. Next, we had the WCW television title on the line. The Miz going one-on-one with Otis. Last time we saw Miz was back at our LA stop, where he was absolutely decimated by the Scottish psychopath, Drew McIntyre. Otis has been on a roll. He has been on a hot streak really since right after WrestleMania. We saw him win his first singles title, defeating Shinsuke Nakamura for the television title. And then you've got The Miz. The Miz has earned some great opportunities. He's had some world title shots, but he's just not been able to win a championship in our universe. Here, though, he would hit a skull-crushing finale, cover Otis, and get the 1-2-3. The special run of Otis as TV champ is over. Miz now finally a champion in the open mic universe, as he is your new WCW television champion. Then we saw Chelsea Green go one-on-one with Trish Stratus. Chelsea is trying to make a name for herself. She's trying to make a mark on the women's division in the WWE. And if you come in and you have a great performance against somebody like Trish Stratus, that could do wonders for your career. That's kind of the double-edged sword of trying to make a name for yourself against a legend or a Hall of Famer. It could go great for you if you find a way to get the victory. Or if you come up on the losing end, it could be a huge setback that really derails whatever progress you've made up to this point. Now, this was not a winning night for Chelsea Green. She would come up on the losing end. But I think for the most part, she kind of held her own against Stratus. And so I wouldn't say that the night, even though it ended in a loss, wasn't a total loss. I don't think it was a huge setback for her. But I think she's going to have to go back to the drawing board and see where she can go from here. Then Kurt Angle, who would be back in the city where he won a gold medal back in 1996 with a broken freaking neck. It was Angle Appreciation Night in Atlanta. Angle now more on the managerial side as he has reformed Team Angle. But he's back here in Atlanta, a city that he has had a lot of success, not only in his professional career, but also his amateur career. The party, though, would be interrupted by our WWE United States Champion, Bobby Lashley. And he would offer Angle a shot at his WWE United States Championship. Of course, Angle, a guy that was always an ultimate opportunist when he was an active competitor, accepted that challenge from Lashley. And we would get a special treat as Kurt Angle would be in the ring going one-on-one with Lashley. Didn't look so hot for Angle at the start, but then he would get in an angle slam kind of out of nowhere on Lashley on the outside. The straps come down, and he would lock in an ankle lock. But Lashley would find his way out of it. And then Kurt would get Lashley up on the top rope and kind of stun Lashley. I don't think Lashley really kind of knew where he was at there for a second. And Angle able to capitalize. Kurt Angle would cover Bobby Lashley and get the 1-2-3. Kurt Angle is your new WWE United States Champion. He does it in Atlanta. This time, didn't have to sustain a broken freaking neck to do it. Then we would have a fatal four-way between LA Knight, Bronson Reed, AJ Styles, and Brock Lesnar. The winner would earn themselves a shot at Drew McIntyre and the WCW United States Championship in our final stop of our Great American Bash Tour in Greensboro. It's going to be a night of champions. We've already got a few championship matches already set. This one, though, for an opportunity to take on maybe the guy that has been on the hottest streak in either brand, Drew McIntyre. AJ, a former multiple-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion. LA Knight, a former Intercontinental Champion and WWE World Heavyweight Champion. Bronson Reed, a former WCW United States Champion. And Brock, who has not won a championship in our universe. And all four of these guys, while it's an opportunity to get in the ring with McIntyre, you get in there with a Scottish psychopath. That's not necessarily potentially a good thing for you. It could end up being looked at more of as a punishment. Brock would bring a sledgehammer into the ring. And he would spread the pain around to everybody with that sledgehammer. AJ would hit a Styles Clash on LA Knight, and Brock would actually cover Bronson Reed, and AJ not able to get around the referee to break up the count. Brock Lesnar going to Greensboro to take on Drew McIntyre for the WCW United States Championship. Next, the WWE Intercontinental title was on the line. The badass Braun Breaker going one-on-one with the Viper, Randy Orton. Breaker from nearby Woodstock, Georgia, looking to try to make the most of his homecoming back to the Atlanta area. And the last couple months haven't exactly gone the way that Breaker maybe kind of envisioned that they would. He partners up with Shane McMahon. I'm sure both guys probably thought that maybe we would have seen a little more success out of the pairing. Breakker came up short at Money in the Bank. He came up short in the King of the Ring. And I'm sure in his mind he was thinking partnering up with Shane was going to kind of fast track some things for him. And that's not exactly how it's really played out. But now that he's back here in his hometown with a huge opportunity, he looked to try to capitalize. He would hit a spear on Orton, but it wouldn't be enough to keep the Viper down. So he would go with another spear. Cover Orton, hook the leg. And that would be enough to put the Viper down on this night. And Bron Breakker, the badass, is your new WWE Intercontinental Champion. Rey Mysterio would come out and address the crowd here in Atlanta. And he had a whole laundry list of complaints and grievances that he wanted to get off his chest. And it all had to do with the original WCW. How he was held back. How he wasn't thought of as anything more than a cruiserweight guy or an opening match guy. And how he wasn't given opportunities. Well, one guy in the back had heard enough. And it was the franchise of WCW, Sting. He had heard all that he could take out of Rey Mysterio. He would come out and confront Rey. And that would lead to an impromptu match, an impromptu main event here to close out the night. Now, Sting has made it very clear he has not been a fan of the new Despicable Rey, the new Rey Mysterio. The change in attitude. It's not the Rey that he knew from their time in WCW. Again, you can't argue with the results. Since Rey has turned over a new leaf, he's had a lot of success. Multiple reigns as WCW World Heavyweight Champion. The LWO, maybe the strongest faction in WCW for sure, maybe in the entire universe. It looked like Sting was going to humble Rey a little bit, teach him a lesson. He locked in the Scorpion Deathlock. But in kind of recent Rey fashion, he found a way out. That's kind of what we've seen out of Rey over the last couple months. Just when you think there's no chance that he's going to find a way out of this situation, he does. Every time, Rey would go up top, hit a frog splash, and get the victory. Now, we already know what's in store for the WWE World Heavyweight title in Greensboro. But what about the WCW World Heavyweight title? Cody Rhodes would come out with a solution to that question. He would challenge Despicable Rey for the WCW World Heavyweight title. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you don't want to miss what happens next, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And we'll see you next time from Memphis.